Thank you very much, Lesoy. And just by way of information, the Chief Medical Officer could not make it today, so I am filling in for her. Can we get the presentation? Now, St. Kitts and Nevis, we are still in the middle of a pandemic, COVID-19, and to date we've had 19 positive cases in the Federation, 13 in St. Kitts, and 6 in Nevis. When we look at the CAFA region, we see that the virus is still very much with us. There have been over 250,000 confirmed cases with 151,623 recoveries and 4,296 deaths. Closer, when we look at the CAFA member state, the 24 countries that we're in, we have 47,000 cases, over 34,000 recoveries, and 972 deaths. Thanks to God so far, St. Kitts and Nevis have not contributed to the death toll that we see within the CAFA region. When we look north towards the United States, we see that they're still struggling to contain the pandemic, and as of today, they have over 8 million confirmed cases and 221,460 deaths. And the states that you see in red are states that have seen an increase in the number of positive cases. Globally, we are still fighting to contain the pandemic with over 40 million positive cases globally, and are seeing a significant increase in positive cases in one day. That is 350,424 cases. We should not be disheartened, however, because whereas earlier in the pandemic, globally and regionally, we were only testing persons who were symptomatic. Now, with the readily availability of a number of tests, we are testing more persons, and so we expect to see the number of positive cases increase. However, the deaths are still pretty high, 1.1 million globally. In St. Kitts and Nevis, we continue to do our testing, and to date, we've tested over 2,906 persons, and our positivity rate is 0.7, which is very low. Countries should aim to have a positivity rate of below 5%, and so we are doing a great job, the fact that our positivity rate is less than 1%. We also continue to repatriate our nationals and students, and to date, we have returned 505 persons to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And of the positive cases, we know that they have all been recovered. About 2 weeks ago, the Chief Medical Officer mentioned that we repatriated 155 Ross students, 135 out of Miami, and 20 from San Juan, Puerto Rico. I'm happy to say that today they were all tested, and all of them came back negative, and so as we speak, those 155 students have been released from quarantine, and they're now free to move about freely in the Federation. And so don't be surprised if you see them out in the supermarket, on the strip, or in any entertainment centers. These are not persons who are breaking quarantine. They went to their 14-day mandatory quarantine, were tested when they came in, tested again at 14 days, and tested negative, and so they're now being released. Move on. As countries continue to open their borders, we are seeing an increase in the number of positive cases. For example, Barbados has 14 new cases, Antigua 8, and St. Lucia 7 new cases. And we should expect no difference when we open our borders, because once the borders are open, we would expect to see an increase in the positive cases. Next slide. The most important thing, however, is for us to be able to identify every case, contain the case, test persons who need to be tested to make sure that the virus doesn't hitch a ride from one person to the other, and then we end up with community spread. And so on the 31st of on the 31st of October, next slide, when we open, we encourage you to remain vigilant, and we can't overemphasize the non-pharmaceutical measures that we keep repeating here that you need to do. And the graphics show it quite clear there. You need to continue with your physical distancing, stay more than 6 feet from someone, continue with the hand hygiene, and you need to wear your mask. And there are a number of persons who are wearing the mask, but they wear the mask below their chin, below the nose, in their pockets. And so when we say wear a mask, we mean that you need to cover your nose, cover your mouth, so that you reduce the spread of the respiratory droplets. And you need to avoid crowded places. And crowded places just doesn't refer to parks and stadiums and fetes. You can have a crowded church, you can have crowded schools, etc. And so we need to make sure that we adopt all of these non-pharmaceutical measures in every aspect of our life. The mask, go back, the mask can become a fashion statement. And so whereas early on we were encouraging persons to wear the surgical mask, there are a number of masks that are being made to the proper specification with the 3 layers that can contain the spread of the virus. And so it is thought now that wearing the mask not only protects the person who you are coming in contact with, but it also protects you. And so you can make it a fashion statement and have a mask for every day of the week to go with your color shirt or your color dress. And so we need to see more of this. In addition to COVID-19, we have to remember that life goes on and we still have to continue to fight other diseases. And one that we are acutely aware of is dengue. And most persons will not be aware that we are in the dengue season. We haven't had any cases here since our borders have been closed, and the mosquitoes need a plane ride from south to come up here. And so we have not had any dengue cases. However, when the borders are open, we may have the virus coming up here with one of these mosquitoes who inadvertently might get on an airplane. And so it's important for you to remember the simple things that you can do to protect yourself from dengue. Wearing protective clothing, and we need to spell out what that is. It means that you have to wear a long sleeve shirt or long sleeve pants, especially with children, because sometimes persons will bring a child to see the doctor and the child has a number of septic spots on the arms and the legs and they're thinking it's some allergy. But when you remove the rest of the clothes, you realize that there are no spots on the chest or on the buttocks, which is normally covered by the clothes. And when you explain to them that it's the areas that were exposed that are being bitten by the mosquito, and that is why the child is getting the infections, they're actually surprised. And so when we say wear protective clothing, we mean clothes that's going to cover most of your skin surface so that the mosquito has less of an opportunity to bite you. I know that the mosquitoes appear to be getting pretty smart. They're even biting people through their clothes now, so you may need to wear an undershirt, etc., to protect yourself. And if you can't, you need to put mosquito repellent on, and make sure that if you have a house that is screened, it's properly screened. I know most persons may not have air condition, but there are certain things that you can do, even buying a net, a mosquito net to put over your bed when you go to sleep to make sure that these mosquitoes don't get to you. And the mosquitoes, they can multiply where we have stagnant water. You need to make sure that there are no empty containers around where the mosquitoes can multiply. Even your toilet, you need to make sure that the toilet seat is closed so the mosquitoes don't go in there and multiply. I believe that that is the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for listening.